I'm not so willing to jump down and say, like, oh, well, just because they're bad people and have done bad things, that they deserve all this stuff, because then it just turns into a contest of who's going to outlive who. You can either turn them to your side and open up their mind and make it easy for them to step a more righteous path, or you can force them through it.
I don't think you can ever force anyone on a good path.
No, and I don't think so either.
Yeah. Just building off of what you said, I think it's very important to not forgive people too quickly. Like, I think you need to look for remorse first.
Yeah, and I think it's beyond the scope of this episode to continue this conversation much further.
No, I think we can solve it right now. Hello there. You found the lost Holocron, an ancient artifact of lore and legends from a galaxy far, far away. Each transmission of the lost Holocron, we will join you in an episodic adventure of media from the Star Wars universe. We will be your guides. Tim, why are you doing the Macarena?
Because I am Knuff.
I'm inspired by Tim. I'm going to build the lawnmower. My name's Kyle. Scott's doing the credit card.
I wish I knew what that was.
And Stu was trying to lead us in an ad hoc emu bob.
Come on, guys, everybody join in.
No. I am doing the Macarena over here. You can't mess with me.
Hey, Macarena.
It's like one of those silent raves where we're all doing our own thing.
Right, okay.
We will be covering the material up to and including Chapter 30 of Heir to the Empire. Stuart, what happened so far?
Oh, so far. Luke Skywalker and Leia Organa Solo have been on the run from a mysterious task force set upon abducting them, directed from the shadows of Imperial Command by Grand Admiral Thrawn. On Kashyyyk, Leia uncovers the identity of the Noghri assailants from one they managed to pull into custody. In the Sluissi Sector, Thrawn and Captain Pellaeon are preparing for their assault on Sluis Van Shipyards, prototype cloaking technology in hand and operational. On Myrkr, Luke ends up captured, disarmed, and recaptured, trekking through the wilderness with an ex-Imperial operative, Mara Jade. Thrawn has left a contingent of Stormtroopers at their exit point to intercept whom Thrawn suspects was Skywalker. Talon Karrde worked with Han Solo and Lando Calrissian to extract Luke and Mara, hoping to delay retribution from the Grand Admiral for his concealed, although be it reluctant, partisanship. In the ensuing ambush, Lando stakes his life on Luke's Jedi intuition. The gamble costs him dearly, leaving him mortally wounded, but betting on Luke wins out, even without use of the Force. Tim, what happened in Chapter 30?
In the aftermath of the firefight, Karrde directs his people to evacuate Myrkr, believing their ruse impossible to hide from Thrawn's observational and inferential prowess. Before parting ways, he asks Solo to loan one of the New Republic's gutted warships to help with the evacuation. Luke and Han help an injured but very much alive Lando onto the Millennium Falcon. They debrief each other as they depart, and Han says that he wants to take a detour through Sluis Van to give Lando proper medical treatment, and Luke some much-needed rest, before diving into the political hotbed on Coruscant. However, lying in wait at Sluis Van, Thrawn has begun his operation to take ships out of the shipyard. Upon hearing that the Imperial detachment on Myrkr has failed to report in, he concludes that Skywalker was indeed there, undoubtedly aided by Karrde. He makes a point of deferring retribution to focus on the imminent battle.
I thought it was interesting how Karrde was just in awe. He's like, one man did all this? Looking at like the collapsed arch and everything.
Yeah. And then Aves had a little hurt in his voice saying, but well, we helped.
Right. We helped.
And then there was like a vocal tag as well that also said that his own admiration shone through that. And I had a very hard time like placing that in my head.
I wonder, Karrde does seem like somebody who would have a backup plan, but it doesn't. Are they just like, oh, well, everyone scatter? Or I wonder if he's headed somewhere. I wonder what Karrde's plan is now.
I don't know. Yeah, he seemed pretty remorseful about having to leave.
Yeah, like he had a smuggling home.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something you wouldn't expect a smuggler to have, typically.
Right, yeah. It's his sense of security and his sanctuary, basically.
I mean, apparently they only eat one meal a day, so home is a foreign concept to them.
Yeah. So you think they'll be a little bit more at home in space when they're just drifting from place to place?
I think he could probably take some pointers from Han now.
Yeah, maybe.
Although Han has his home of his own now.
Mhm.
True, yeah. But Han always just jumps right back into the drifting lifestyle. It's not like he gets comfortable.
Yeah.
He just exists.
Han 100% seems like one of those people where it's like, they can't just be happy.
Yeah. Either he's always looking over his shoulder or he's looking for the next thing.
Right.
He needs a little bit more zen in his life.
No, he might settle down for like a year or two, but like at the end of that second year, he's like, I gotta go now.
Yeah. That was an aspect of Force Awakens that I thought was pretty realistic. Like the fact that Han and Leia were like estranged from each other at that point.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But
Or just like not
the
currently
reason
together.
why they're estranged, though.
Well,
That's a story for another time. Find out
Honestly,
next on the Lost Holocron.
we can infer it was because of their son.
Yeah.
Yeah. But they didn't exactly make it clear.
In the books, Leia knows that Ben is evil, and she does not tell Han. She keeps it from him.
Dang.
Spoiler alert.
So when he does go nuts, and then Han finds out about it, he's just like, "You didn't tell me that. You didn't think that was important."
Mm.
Wow.
Oh, okay. That makes a lot of sense.
It's like, did you not know he's the grandson of Vader?
Just because I'm related to someone evil.
Yeah, I wish they'd spent more time making Han feel a bit more like driftery or like a self-saboteur because, as you point out, that is part of his character to get itchy feet every so often. And rather than him bursting onto the Falcon and saying, "Oh, Chewie, we're home," be a bit like, "Oh yeah, back to this thing. By the way, what's the next thing on our list?"
Granted, we jumped in like 30 years later because George didn't want to do 7, 8, and 9 earlier.
Yeah. And then even Karrde and Aves are chatting, and he said, well, that's what Mara said, but I guess Skywalker could have lied to her. And immediately Karrde is like, no, I don't think that's realistic. Do you think that Karrde knows that she's Force sensitive?
I'm starting to think so.
Yeah.
I also think he has a little more faith in Mara than her being lied to and believed by a Jedi or by anybody.
Right. I guess you would not take his word without very good reason to agree to it.
Plus, also, I think even if he doesn't know the full extent, Karrde is aware of Mara's disdain for Luke.
Mm-hmm.
We're all aware of her disdain for Luke.
Painfully aware.
We haven't gotten much from Mara, but like that was really on point.
Yeah. First thing you put in her character bio.
Right.
First thing on her resume for her next smuggling job.
Biggest fucking curmudgeon there is.
Yeah.
I thought that the aftermath of this battle was very light. I mean, it seemed like it just kind of abrupted endly.
Yeah.
It felt like we were like right in the action, and then it just cuts to Karrde and Aves being like, "Well, that was crazy."
Yeah. I mean, especially like with that archway coming down, that took out absolutely everybody is kind of surprising.
Well, then they were saying that there could be a couple unaccounted chariots and other
Some stragglers somewhere,
stragglers and such. But it's funny that Han was like, he's like, yeah, maybe they just wanted to like disappear instead of reporting to Thrawn that they fucked up, and then to the Grand Admiral. And then Luke's like, wait, there's another Grand Admiral? I thought we accounted for all of them.
Oh, yeah.
Han's like, yeah, I thought we did too.
Yeah.
I'm wondering, I don't know. I'm kind of wondering if a lot of, I don't know. Do you guys think that a lot of the Imperial forces knew about Thrawn to an extent, like the greater, or maybe like his smaller, like branch?
I think he was definitely kept quiet.
I think so too.
Especially because they already weren't a fan of non-human or human races.
Right. That's kind of where I'm going, because I think that Palpatine probably would have kind of kept him in the shadows because he was not human. Not that he doubted his abilities. I think maybe he just wanted to kind of use his talent in the shadows rather than like in front of everybody, I guess.
I think certainly during the Imperial era that would have been the case, but do you think that's still the case right now? Do you think the troops that are directly under him know about him?
I don't think so.
Because if not, that would kind of give a bit more credence to, as you said, they don't want to report back to high command because they're afraid of being killed or whatnot. Because I kind of had that thought of like, oh, but Thrawn doesn't seem like the Vader type to punish with death failure.
Oh yeah, didn't he kill somebody?
But he did kill that one. He did kill that one officer. He had Roke like basically snap his neck or whatever.
Yeah, but I think that was because the guy refused to like learn anything from his mistake.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah. He kept giving excuses.
I wouldn't report back to Zahn. I know exactly what he was going to do. I'm out.
Yeah. I
guess I'm a rebel now.
Yeah.
You mean I can go hunt Vonskas in the forest? Count me in.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, I think that even if Thrawn wouldn't do anything to them immediately, they wouldn't know that. You know, they would probably just assume, oh, he's the Grand Admiral, so of course he's going to punish us somehow.
Yeah. I guess so. Because like I was thinking that now, just that if he is using a different, what do you call that? Not
disciplinary method.
Disciplinary. So if he's using a different disciplinary method to the other Imperial factions, that's not immediately obvious to the people who are under threat of disciplinary action. So while Thrawn might treat them differently, from the bottom, it's hard to know if I report to my captain, am I going to be killed? Or, maybe that part of Thrawn's message hasn't been disseminated well enough to through Imperial ranks. Yeah,
and I'm sure that the way that Vader treated those who failed him probably became pretty famous among
probably
throughout the ranks.
Could you imagine if Thrawn regularly sent out email announcements to the crew about different things?
All right, guys, it's Casual Friday.
By the way, send this to 3 other people. Try and enlist them in our Imperial regime. We're going to crush the rebellion, guys.
Yeah.
Because he even said that thing at the end of the chapter of like, also remind the men that this is where the path to crushing the rebellion starts.
Right. He totally, as Pellaeon, send out like company-wide emails.
That reminds me of the last time you said that he's Zap Brannigan. That really colored my picture of reading him this time.
Yeah, he probably views it as important for morale, though.
I would hate, I already hate having my boss watch what I'm doing at work. I cannot imagine my boss also had blue skin and glowing red eyes watching what I do at work.
Yeah.
Oh my god, I can't imagine working at my computer at work and then suddenly I just see like 2 glowing red dots on my computer screen.
No.
God.
It is also to be said, though. I mean, I do still have the theory that anyone who is currently with the Empire is because they have no other option right now. So maybe they would. Maybe they would just go back to Thrawn.
Yeah.
Maybe Thrawn also focuses on a semi-decent work environment because of that, too.
Yeah.
Wasn't it described in the first chapter that everything's kind of like winky? Everything's like it looks like the Empire, but it's like a little, just a little off.
It's like the Empire that you order off of Wish.com.
Exactly.
Everybody's cosplaying.
Hey, that's the First Order.
Right? Yeah. That's the Temu Empire.
I don't think I understand that reference.
It's like even worse than Wish.
Oh.
So yeah, when Luke and Han finally get off world, I like the way that they were describing how Luke finally he was like reinvigorated with the Force, kind of the way they were describing that. I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah, I liked how that was described too. It was like a little understated.
It was a little understated, but it was kind of an interesting little bit of a visual.
That's what I liked about it.
Yeah. And he described it as like being able to see again after being blinded, and Han's like, "Oh yeah, I know what that's like," and
yeah,
being in Jabba's palace.
Yeah.
And then I liked how Luke was like, "Hey, I forgot to say, but thanks for rescuing me." And then Han was like, "Oh, I forgot to say it, but you look like shit."
Yeah. Oh, I loved that saying. You look like something the Prim dragged in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a very good Star Wars saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got it here. Luke felt a surge of awareness and strength filled him, as if he were waking up from a deep sleep, or stepping from a dark room into the light, or suddenly understanding the universe again. The Force again was with him.
Yeah.
That was really well done.
Yeah, I like that understanding the universe part. I thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, everything just suddenly makes sense.
Yeah,
I feel like that's kind of what it would be. And I think Tim in KOTOR 2, you get a couple of descriptions of like what is it like to be without the Force after having seen it, or what is it like to have the Force. And I felt like that was really reminiscent of those lines.
What did you tell the handmaiden when she asked you what it's like?
I tried all the options.
You did? Which one's your favorite? Yeah. Which one do you gravitate towards?
Oh man, I'll have to Google these, but wasn't there one about standing on top of a mountain?
I think there was, yeah. The one I gravitate towards is like, imagine hearing the heartbeat of the galaxy for the first time.
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Must be nice to be able to hit KOTOR too.
Get on it, Kyle.
One day I'll have time when I'm not conspiracy theorying or being crushed by work.
Oh.
Yeah, one day I'll finish KOTOR 1.
You can skip ahead to 2.
Okay.
Yeah, please do.
Just go straight to KOTOR 2.
Yeah. Yeah, I would like to say that to everyone here and our listeners. You can totally just go right to KOTOR 2. They catch you up.
Yeah.
And the stories aren't interconnected, just the lore.
Yeah.
What about gameplay? Is it worth...
Same gameplay.
Okay, cool.
But KOTOR 2 has a lot of quality of life improvements and also crafting.
Oh. Isn't KOTOR like significantly shorter though?
Yes.
KOTOR 2
is pretty long.
Yeah, it is pretty long.
Oh, KOTOR 2 is longer? The first one's shorter?
Yeah, the first one is noticeably shorter.
Or was the other way around? Okay.
So it's a fully fleshed out finished game?
No, it's a big one.
Please, Kyle, don't make sense of that question. Hangar controls workbench lab station. No, where is it? Handmaiden. Aha. Okay, here we go. Before you go, Exile, question to you, if I may ask. You have touched the Force. What does it feel like? It is a difficult thing to describe. Please, I wish to know. The 4 options you get are imagine awakening and hearing the heartbeat of the galaxy for the first time.
That's me.
Which is the one that you just mentioned. 2, it is like a current that passes through you and carries you with it to all the places it touches.
That's a good one too.
Yeah. Number 3, the warmth of the sun without the glare. You can feel its light and its heat, but there is no harshness to it.
I always really liked that one as well.
And number 4, it is so many things, yet you'll know it when you feel it without question.
That's the Christian answer.
Of all these ones, I like number 2 the best, I think. It feels like a current that carries you with it to all the places that it touches.
Team 1, Team Heartbeat.
I like the heartbeat of the universe. I thought it was really good.
Yes.
And then Kreia said, it is like a cloud, a mist that drifts from living creature to living creature, set in motion by currents and eddies. It is the eye of the storm, the passion of all living things turned into energy, into a chorus. It is the rising and swelling at the end of life, and the promise of new territories and new blood, the call of new mysteries in the dark. Otherwise, you can also say that I don't know what it's like to feel it, but I only know what it's like if it's lost. And she says, tell me of its absence. Imagine awakening and finding all your senses blinded, which is much like this chapter. It is like feeling warmth on the skin, then being buried alive.
Oh, jeez.
Very morose.
Kreia would not like that answer.
An echo forever traveling inside you until the end of your days. And it is something you struggle to recall, yet forever forgotten. Oh, and this is what I was remembering. Kreia then says, it is standing atop the summit of a great mountain and winds tearing about you, then finding yourself buried alive, trapped, helpless, and alone. It is like having the energy of youth, then feeling the cloak of years fall upon you, knowing you are weak and fragile, and a thing easily discarded. It is knowing what you want to say and never finding the words. It is a chorus replaced with silence, hearing teachings without meaning. It is like a beloved pupil to whom you have shared everything, sacrificed everything, and then having them turn from you, forgetting all you were.
God damn, this game's dialogue is so good.
Edgar Allan Poe had described the Force.
Yeah.
And if you have played the game to completion, it says a lot about like the rest of the game as well.
It does.
There's a lot of foreshadowing there.
Everyone play KOTOR too. So Luke had a bit of a Kreia moment there.
Yeah.
Like at first when like he made the blind comment and Han was like, oh, I don't know what that could feel like. At first I was kind of like, is this one too many references? But then I was like, actually this feels like realistic dialogue from these characters because Luke has not known life without the Force for a very long time until now.
Yeah.
So it felt very natural.
Yeah, no, I thought this was quite appropriate.
Yeah.
Why don't you think that he wants to tell Han about Mara?
I think part of him wants to protect her.
Yeah, I thought that was a little strange. But it does seem like he's protecting her somehow. I'm not sure why.
What do you think he's protecting her from?
I think saying that there is somebody out there who was the Emperor's closest hand is something that gives a target. Because bringing up Thrawn is now a target. Someone for the Empire to wipe out.
Or maybe he doesn't want Han to know that he's been working with somebody who is so close to the Empire for the last week or whatever. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah, maybe we get mixed signals at that point of like, we're just running from the Empire, and he maybe believes that she doesn't have any affiliation to this, what the Empire is now, but
yeah, but Han might not.
Yeah, Han wouldn't have that trust, and so he doesn't want her dismissed out of hand.
Right.
Good on Luke for putting down a boundary, respectfully saying it's personal, and good on Han for respecting it.
Yeah, that was nice.
Yeah.
It also occurs to me that, like, not wanting to dismiss her out of hand, that do you think he sees some, like, redemption in her future? That he doesn't want other people prejudicing her to make that redemption harder?
Possibly, yeah.
That does sound like an EU Luke thing to me.
And I think maybe he might hope to have more interaction with her in the future, and he doesn't want his allies to think that she's a liability, perhaps.
You really think he wants more interaction? I read that conversation as quite sarcastic of like, oh, you two are getting along there. Yeah, I really don't want to talk about that.
I think whether he likes it or not, that he knows that they're going to run into each other again.
Yeah, maybe it's not so much he wants to, but he anticipates it, I guess.
His Spidey Force senses are tingling.
Yeah.
We did talk a lot about how, what can Mara do to like improve this relationship with Luke? But I wanted to put the question on the other side, like when they are interacting, what can Luke be doing to make that relationship better? We probably should have talked about this a little while ago, but
yeah, it's a good question to bring up.
It just kind of occurred to me like, of course we're bemoaning the curmudgeon for not working better with Luke at the time, but Luke's also not speaking her language, so how can he better communicate with her to facilitate a better working relationship? Or what could he have done?
I mean, I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to say like, oh, Luke's in the wrong here. He didn't know her. He didn't personally do anything to her. And he's still a bit of a Boy Scout. I mean, there was that chapter where he's like, should I have lied? Is that what the Force would do? I mean, like, he didn't know. He didn't know her. And it's not like she was doing great things and he fucked it up for her. Like, she was a bad person. He took out something bad and just happened to be in the crossfire. I don't know what Luke can do to make her be like, oh, much better.
I think he just needs to give her space and let her be herself and figure it out on her own.
Yeah.
What I think Mara needs therapy.
Everyone needs therapy.
Mara does need therapy, undoubtedly.
Mara especially so.
Because the one thing that comes to my mind is that she was like, you murdered the Emperor, you assassinated him, and that cost me everything. And Luke's just there, shrugging, going that wasn't me, that was Vader. I didn't do anything. But he is 100% culpable in the disposition of the Emperor. And that's the one thing.
His murder with love.
Exactly.
Right. Maybe Mara was watching the shadows the whole time.
Yeah. Well, probably not. Otherwise, she would have been blown up on that Death Star.
Yeah, or she would have stepped in.
Yeah, although that's the one thing that I think that Luke feels very passive, and he doesn't see that how his own actions have contributed to this thing, and maybe being a bit more culpable and saying you know what, he was a bad guy, and I was going to kill him, because he even takes a swing at him in Return of the Jedi.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's not like he didn't try to murder him.
Yeah, but I mean, God forbid if he lies to somebody,
Look, that was the heat of the moment. His dad was watching. He just felt all this pressure.
Yeah.
Mara was embarrassed watching Emperor Palpatine get picked up and thrown down that shaft. Just like that, huh?
You know what, Stuart? You saying that about Luke makes me think that, if anything, he could show more empathy to how it changed her life. And give some validation to what she's feeling based on that, even if she was a fascist. Yeah. Because, I mean, even beyond the politics of it, I mean, it's a loss of identity and sense of purpose. And that changes people. That's traumatic.
Yeah.
It makes them very curmudgeonly.
Yeah.
I don't know. For me, it's I kind of get the same feeling. I'm sure you guys have seen that video recently of Mitch McConnell. His brain.
Yeah. Freezing up.
And there's a lot of people are making fun of him, and it's fucking hilarious. But a lot of people are like, no, he's getting old. He can't help it. You can't make fun of him for that. You're going to their level, and it's he's a fucking horrible person who takes away rights of people. I'm not gonna feel bad for him. I'm no, fuck him.
This is true. Mara's probably done some terrible things.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
Right, but of her own volition?
Oh, that is a good question, because we do know that the Emperor had an influence on Imperial forces.
Yeah.
And his not Thrawn level strategy cost them the Battle of Endor.
Yeah.
I mean that we can get into a whole morality debate over, I don't know,
space wizards.
Space wizards.
Look, I'm a little bit willing to put my chips down here and say that there's a whole just these people have been raised in an environment that gives them a very real fear of the unknown, and they do need more exposure to get, probably a healthier perspective on the universe, or whatever else.
Mhm.
But I'm not so willing to jump down and say like, oh well, just because they're bad people and have done bad things that they deserve all this stuff, because then it just turns into a contest of who's going to outlive who. And
Right.
in
yeah,
this,
that's a good
and
point.
you can you can get everything you want by either being satisfied with what you have or by actually acquiring everything. And if you're going to just have a contest of how to outlive somebody else, you can either turn them to your side and open up their mind and make it easy for them to step a more righteous path, or you can force them through it, or make sure that their lifeline finishes sooner to the present.
I don't think you can ever force anyone on a good path.
No, and I don't think so either.
Yeah. I do think it's very, just building off of what you said, I think it's very important to not forgive people too quickly. Like, I think you need to look for remorse first. But when I say don't forgive, I don't think that means that you actively like fight back at them. I think there's a big difference between fighting and resisting.
Yeah.
Like if someone like a Mitch McConnell or a Mara is like actively doing bad things, do I want them to be better people? Yes, I want everyone to be better people, because that's just good for themselves and the world, especially if they're in a position of influence.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to like be super friendly if they're like acting without remorse, but I'm also not going to what's the word? I'm not going to attack them.
Yeah.
I'm just going to resist their actions.
Yeah.
I mean,
Be a roadblock.
And like, I don't believe in free will. And when people come up against like, oh, well, you don't believe in free will, then, no choices matter. I think like that's not the point that we're trying to make. And I completely agree with you that, just because people don't have free will doesn't mean you have to forgive them of things. You just have to acknowledge that, that they can't help but have acted in a particular way, and you need to set up the reward structure of the future to encourage them down a better path, because they live within a particular incentive structure that creates these habits.
Yes. Yeah. It also is important to remember how systemic issues contribute to these people. Yeah. And enable them.
Yeah.
It is rough. I mean, I also I don't think anybody doesn't want people to be good. It would be great if all the world's problems could be like, he was a bad person, but now he's good. But there is a line, and it's very debatable where that line is. How many lives can someone ruin before you're like, but they're good now. How many lives can you ruin and then make up for it?
Yeah.
Right. I mean, like, what if Vader hadn't been killed on the Death Star and he'd been redeemed by Luke? Nobody would accept him.
Right.
Even if...
Think of all the younglings alone. Like, how many children and families he's destroyed. Yeah. You can't just get people to be like, he's great now. I think a big example of this is Negan in The Walking Dead. Absolute, he was a horrible person and hurt a lot of people. He is now a lot of people's favorite character, and they're like, he's good now. And he went through some penance. He went through basically prison, which up to you whether you think prison works or not.
Depends on the prison.
Right.
Yeah.
But it's hard to draw a hard line to be like, this is redeemable.
Yeah. And I think it's beyond the scope of this episode to continue this conversation much further.
No, I think we can solve it right now.
But no, I completely agree. And as somebody that doesn't believe in free will, I don't believe that prisons work. It doesn't create an incentive structure for people to do good things. It just forces things underground, and it forces people to, rather than seek out the better option, is to hide the things that so that they don't get caught, so that they don't have to go to these places. And we lived in a pretty messed up incentive structured society at the moment, and I hope that more conversations like this can help make a better future.
Have you seen Norwegian prisons though?
No.
They're nice. They basically give them a college dorm. They can put up wall art and stuff. They actually focus on rehabilitation. It's more like your access to the world is restricted in some way, but you're not ostracized and punished. You're not treated as subhuman. You're not exploited for free labor. Like none of those things.
Yeah, no, that's exactly the way it should be. Like you do get your freedoms restricted, but it's part of like, I hate to use this word, but a re-education.
More like your ability to do harm is restricted.
Yeah. And you get that rehabilitation into, setting up those incentive structures. Because like incentive structures are internalized from our upbringing or our environment. And even if you change the environment, you still have some echo of that incentive structure within you as well. And that's why we have, very extremist people in the world, and, people that we do get these characters that we empathize with are like, oh man, Anakin, you had just so many chances to turn around and like, just tell us what's going on, man. And instead he went to the dark side because he had those internalized structures of like, I can't tell these people, I can't do these things, despite externally that probably being very different.
Man, guys, as much as Mara has frustrated us, she has given us so many things to talk about.
Yeah.
I think I'm actually really happy she exists now.
Yeah, like she's a really good character. It's just
maybe that's exactly why.
Yeah.
The reveal could have been handled differently.
I've never not been happy she was here. Like I enjoy the show out of it. It's just would have been nice if she showed up a little later.
She stepped on one of my storytelling pet peeves. So but I'm coming around.
Jumping back to the beginning a bit, Han says that, I owe you one card. But does Han owe Karrde anything at all? Because it seems like
I don't think so.
Yeah.
Right. Why?
He got him out of several tricky spaces. And yes, he blew up Karrde's base of operations, metaphorically, before Thrawn's going to come in and do that, literally. But also, it wasn't his fault that Karrde was trying to double deal on both sides, and that's all Karrde's fault.
Maybe Karrde gave him a really good massage before that battle.
Oh, okay. That's probably what he's talking about there.
Maybe Han just has like a lot on his mind and he said that and Karrde just didn't argue it. Maybe Karrde is having like, what are you talking about? Okay, yeah, sure.
I could see that. Yeah.
He's becoming the capitalist from the situation. He's like, oh yeah, okay, yeah, sure.
And Han's, it's kind of like Leia with that Noghri.
Yeah. I did feel like Karrde was kind of weird in this chapter as well, because like, despite just a few chapters ago, he was like, I've got this moral ethic code that I can't break, and I can't turn over people that are our guests in this place to the thing that one, he turns around and says, this could have turned out very differently, implying that he could have handed them over and to begin with, which seems very out of character.
Right.
And also that he's like, oh, by the way, can you spare us a warship that you've been asking us for to help your shipping stuff so that we can get out of here right quick? And then in his internal monologue says, okay, well, it's not going to be too hard to overpower the people and just try to give that to Thrawn as if like a peace offering. Like, what was up with Karrde?
I think, I think he just lost everything and he's trying to piece it back
Maybe
together.
That's why he wants the ship.
A bit desperation, you think?
Yeah. And it doesn't seem like he had a backup plan. It seemed like he was very content in what he currently had going, and now he knows that he just can't. And now he knows that Thrawn is coming for him.
He's having a bit of denial vibes in his current stage of grief.
But then that just means that he throws out all these morals that he's like felt so restricted by or like compelled to uphold in the previous chapters.
Oh, I see. That's the angle you're approaching it with. Yeah. Weird.
Like, are we gonna, like, we're coming to the end of this book. He's gonna appear in the next one. Are are we going to meet him 3 months down the track and he's totally reformed his life, but he's still this capitalist min-maxer with different moral structure going, this is going to be the thing that works this time?
No, now he's a neoliberal.
I think he's going to start an underground lizard fighting league.
What if he started selling a Salamiri?
Or Vonskers.
Oh, wait,
yeah.
he can't go back to his source. Never mind.
Oh my god, how many Salamari do you think he grabs in the evacuation?
Maybe that's what he needs the calamari ship for, so he can just pilot 4 lizards.
Or what if he does like a mercenary service where he's like, oh, you got some Jedi in your battle? I will camp this amount of distance away for the Salamiri to cancel them out.
That is the other thing, is that this seems like a very chill evacuation for it to be like,
It does.
can you go get a ship and then bring it back so we can evacuate?
It seems kind of weird. Like, how far away is the Sluis Van as well? Because it seems like obviously it's going to be closer than going right to the core of to Coruscant.
Yeah.
But like, is it a week's trip away? Is it a day's trip away?
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's so far because they were talking about Lando getting help there, I think, right?
Yeah. How injured is he? Because
Yeah. I mean, he took a blast to the shoulder, so
is it the shoulder?
I mean, the only thing you have to worry about your shoulder is like the artery, but
yeah.
there's not like any internal organs in your shoulder, so it's like it's not like it doesn't seem like it's a serious wound.
And he took a blaster hit, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah, just the blaster.
would have gotten cauterized. But then again, you also don't want an artery to be disconnected.
Yeah.
He's going to lose an arm.
Yeah, well, it sounds like he took some shrapnel as well, but
Okay.
not anything too bad,
Yeah.
like some splinters or something.
Well,
But-
yeah.
So, I mean, the point of me saying that was it can't be too far away. Well, I mean, they could always jump to light speed as well, but can't be so far that it wouldn't be worth going to get him help. You know, it wouldn't be worth going to somewhere closer to get him help, I guess.
By light speed, though, like, you can travel pretty far. So that's what I mean.
Yeah.
Like, is it a couple of days away, or is it like... Because it's got to be a couple of days, right? If it's closer than Coruscant, Coruscant's going to take a week or 2, maybe.
Yeah.
And I guess that's the one thing that I feel a little bit off about, that could have been better explained in the book, is like having the sense of distance of like, we know that Thrawn is preparing to attack Sluis Van, and we didn't think that they were going to make it to Sluis Van. We thought that there was just going to be Wedge fighting off all the Imperials. But it turns out that that's just a layover, so that being a little clearer about galactic distances would probably be...
Check out this expanded universe galaxy map. So Coruscant is in the center, of course, but towards the bottom you'll find Sluis Van. I'm currently looking for Myrkr.
Oh, yeah, I have a book with this map.
Towards the bottom is Sluis Van. In the mid-rim?
It's near Dagobah and Utapau.
Do you have a grid coordinate for that?
Oh, yes. I can. It's M19.
M19, okay. Okay, Dagobah, Utapau. Sluis Van.
Oh, yeah, it's like right next to Dagobah.
Yeah.
Because that makes a lot more sense about, like, we've been to Dagobah in this.
Yes.
Although I have heard these maps are, like, extremely suspect and change dramatically depending on the media that's depicting these events.
And
That would make
right,
sense.
it seems like there's so many different interpretations to as to like where things are.
Yeah. And, like, I don't think a map particularly has to be that accurate across the media. It just has to be better described within the particular thing, because it's got to be further out from the core than Sluis Van, so it's not on this map probably.
Another thing, we're only seeing the distance represented in 2 axes.
True. Right. Where's Myrkr? Interesting. Where's I wonder if we can find Jormark.
Grid square N7 apparently.
Really?
N7.
Oh, there's Wayland. Oh, wait. What the heck?
Yeah, there's Wayland.
I found Myrkr right by Wayland.
Yeah, Wayland and Myrkr are on top of each other, but that is definitely not on the way to
Yeah.
Coruscant.
So they're making a stop on the other side of the galaxy to Sluis Van.
Wait, is that Myrkr or is that like...
Yeah.
My eyes read Myrkr.
That's-
Yeah.
Yeah, Myrkr, Wayland, Plu, Null, Taris,
Terrace!
Yeah.
Hey, R.I.P.
Mandalore. So that's all in the galactic neighborhood. So that's why I'm saying, like, it doesn't actually matter what this map says because, you know, these media probably didn't have those maps at that point. And, like, you know, you're just trying to tell a story for the sake of storytelling. And if in this book it was more clear that these places were, like, a couple thousand light years away rather than tens of thousands of light years away, that, okay, cool, we've got some dramatic tension because are they going to actually stop off there or not? Yeah. But if we'd looked at this map, you know, a while ago, we would have said, yeah, there's no way that they're going from Myrkr all the way to Sluis Van.
One advantage of Disney canon, we can have more reliable maps. Because they pay attention to those things now.
Right.
Yeah, maybe. But also, like, I prefer the Legend of Zelda way of storytelling of, like, these things jump across the map with each iteration of the game, and it's like they sometimes overlap, they sometimes have, like, been completely tile swapped, and, like, there's just this really soft history or soft lore in Legend of Zelda.
I do like universes like that, like the Mad Max movies as well.
Oh, really?
Yeah, extremely soft lore. The softest lore.
Yeah, and I think that is a certain kind of world building that I would accept in Star Wars. That, like, yeah, you know, basically it's in the mid rim, outer rim, in the, you know, east-west quadrant or whatever.
Yeah.
But each story is telling their own myth, in a sense, and it is internally consistent, but only vaguely maps onto the rest of the pantheon. So
we have a whole set of other characters to discuss.
Oh, do we?
Yes. Thrawn and Pellaeon are in this chapter.
Ooh.
Yeah.
We talked about it a little bit.
We've given some respectable attention. Was there something more that you want to say about them, Tim?
Yeah, I mean, it just hit me this chapter how, like, smart it is to have Pellaeon be a character that's more along in his age. Because I think it makes it easier to empathize with him as someone who's, like, longing for the way the Empire used to be.
Yeah.
Back in the good old days.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it also gives some extra motivation to him as a villain, because I feel like he hasn't felt like much of a villain character this whole time. He's just been, like, Thrawn's boy.
Yeah.
Basically.
I mean, we did talk about that before. Like, he doesn't seem to have his own motivations. He's very happy in his, you know, middle management job.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But no, that's just another thing about him that I noticed this chapter.
So, do you think he's, like, actively aspiring to be, like, on Thrawn's level?
I don't think so, because, like, he definitely feels like Thrawn is beyond him in some way, and I don't feel like he's displayed ambition or, like, I want to be the next Grand Admiral, or, you know, he's happy to be under him and run the ship how he wants to run the ship, but in service to somebody else's overarching plans.
I think at first I thought he was kind of like seeing Thrawn as more of a mentor, but now I think he's kind of like wanting to do his own thing, like remain as captain, I guess. Stick to his old ways of being like an Imperial captain, I guess.
I wonder if he's kind of like, thank God this guy's in charge.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, he's going to go down with the ship, not me.
Yeah.
Even though Pellaeon's the captain.
Yeah. I kind of think of him as like an employee who really cares about his workplace and has seen some poor management and is now relieved there's good management for the workplace.
Yeah, I get that feeling from him too, because, like, if Thrawn wasn't there, he would probably just be I don't know, keeping his territory and just staying the course rather than having any ambitious, reachings into other sectors to try and expand Imperial control or even reclaim Imperial territory from the New Republic.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if he's going to get an arc like that throughout the rest of the trilogy.
That's true. I did mention, what if we see his self-actualization arc?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to find Pellaeon find himself.
Yes. Pellaeon needs to learn who Pellaeon is.
And Mara needs to learn who Mara is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Pellaeon's going to come to the part where he has to pick up Thrawn and throw him down the metaphorical pit.
He's going to have his Vader moment.
Yeah.
But instead of a redemption, it's a I'm the bad guy now.
Yeah. I'm the Grand Admiral now.
Yeah.
Oh, actually, everybody in this story is like that. Everybody is on a self-actualization journey. Like, Luke needs to find himself. Leia needs to find himself. Khan still feels like he's in nowhere. We've just destabilized Karrde, as he knows who he was, but now he's going to have to find himself. Mara's finding herself.
Mm-hmm.
Pellaeon's finding himself. I don't know if I'm repeating characters right at this point. The only person that's kind of like stuck where they are is Thrawn.
Yeah.
Thrawn knows who he is and what he wants to be, and he's challenging everybody for that. Everybody in that thematic sense.
This has been The Lost Holocron. You can find transcripts, links to discussions, and more.
Well, Kyle, your voice got different.
I've been working on my Tim impressions.
Yeah,
Oh my God,
it's really good.
I couldn't tell the
It's
difference.
like the best I've ever heard.
Is that what I really sound like? Excellent thought, Stuart. Excellent observation.
Well, thank you for bringing it all around. I was listening to something the other day, and somebody said, like, artists don't make art. They just put themselves in positions that art gets made. And, like, I'm also very much of this mindset that, like, nothing is unique to us, and, like, we are just some locus of cognition, but we have to rely on everything outside of ourselves.
Yeah.
That, no human exists in a vacuum. You live in a world of other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, and there's a famous quote by P.J. O'Rourke. He says, "Originality is the art of hiding your source."
Yeah.
that sounds like a colonialist.
I don't think there are new creations, just creations that feel new to us.
Yeah.
And I think that brain expanding, emotion expanding, fun stuff is the great thing about art.
Yeah, because I don't feel like this, the product of what we're making here it's not any one of us. It's the synthesis of all of us and our experiences and the lives we've led up until this point. And
yeah, but credit where credit's due. You had a good thought, Stuart.
I reluctantly accept.
Yes, he did it, guys. Embrace the positivity.
Was it this chapter or the next chapter where Han's like, we're going to go to Sluis Van, we're going to chill out. It's going to be great.
This one, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is why I thought it was so strange that, like, we don't have any concept of how close these places are. And we were just like, well, they're going to go back to Coruscant into a civil war. And meanwhile, Thrawn's at the other side of the galaxy conquering this place that Wedge is just happenstantially the big winner here. But, like, yeah, Han saying that, I was like, oh, really? It's that close?
I mean, they've been setting it up this whole time that Sluis Van's going to have something big going down on it. But this really solidified it to be like, oh, man, Sluis Van, that's going to be the last moment of quiet we have for a long time. It would have been nice to have a little bit more foreshadowing that was what they were going to say, and then, like, say it outright at this point of, like, oh, yeah, we can finally relax, just chill out while our ships are being worked on, and just, put it out of our minds, the political hot mess that we're going to step into.
Oof.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we're stepping back real quick. It almost seemed like Han was excited that there was a Grand Admiral that they had not found.
Oh?
I think he's kind of excited for the hunt.
Ooh.
I can see that. He has something to focus his stress onto now.
Nice.
Yeah. That does feel very Han. I feel like he's the kind of person who has like pretty good instincts. So like he always knows when something's wrong, and he gets most stressed when he doesn't know what it is. And now he knows what it is. So
Well, I think that it's not that he didn't know what it was. I think it's just that you can't just make an enemy appear out of air to go fight. Like,
true, yeah. He has tangible steps now, other than running away.
Yeah. I don't know if any of you have seen it. There's a movie called The Hunt. Not going too deep in the story, but the main character is fighting back against somebody from this group of people who've captured them and is trying to hunt them, and they've kind of flipped it on them.
I've heard of this. Yeah.
And at one point, she's with one of the people who are hunting them, and he's like, "There's only like one person left. Why don't you just go home?" And she's like, "Back home, I am a car salesman, and I'm a little meh, so I can't do this at home." So, like, even though she's obviously not having a great time, she's still enjoying the fight. And I feel like that's what Han is doing. I don't think he enjoys being fired at by stormtroopers or being hunted down or being close to death, but I also know that he doesn't like sitting at home.
Yeah.
Yeah, he seems like the kind who would want to go down in a blaze of glory, not like, rotting in the, in his living room watching reruns of Wheel of Fortune or something.
I also just found on the Wikipedia that Heir to the Empire is the first appearance of the rank of Grand Admiral.
Oh, that's cool.
That's interesting. Yeah, because I was thinking, I was like, well, who was the Grand Admiral in, A New Hope? Because Tarkin he was like Grand Moff.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so that makes more sense now.
And Grand Moff was more of a political point, and like everybody in that boardroom, I think, was Moffs, which are basically the Imperial equivalent of a senator or the lords of the Imperial sectors. So they weren't actually military personnel.
Yeah, okay, so it's more of like a governing role or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think governors were in charge of planets, and then Moffs were in charge of sectors. I'm not sure who was in between them. And then, of course, you got Grand Moff, and who are in charge of multiple sectors and or super sectors.
Yeah. So Moff Tarkin is just like, he's like, what was he in charge of then?
Tarkin?
Yeah, if he was like a political figure.
Oh, he was in charge of a lot. He had quite a distinguished position.
Well, if he was more like politically, what would he be more in charge of though?
I do like how for the Grand Admiral, it says legally no more than 12 men can hold the rank at one time.
I think Tarkin ended up becoming like an administrator of almost galaxy-wide things.
Okay. Because I thought I heard something like he actually kind of ranked higher than Vader.
I think so, yeah.
Or was that just more of like political type, not like military, but politically?
Politically, he ranked higher than Vader.
I feel like a lot of people ranked higher than Vader.
Politically, yeah.
Politically, yeah.
Vader just enjoyed a lot of nepotism.
It's just funny, like Tarkin's like, he's just like when he targets Eldron, he's like, hey Jeff, I'm gonna blow up your planet right here.
This has been the Lost Holocron. You can find transcripts, links to discussions, and more at our website, lostholocron.com. While you're there, you can learn how to support the creation of future episodes. Read on, and we'll be waiting for you in the next transmission. We would be honored if you would join us.